Hey, it's Cheems, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and the not-so-best anime YouTube videos to come out this month. Sorry I didn't do another bi-weekly. I was a busy month of May 2023. First video I want to talk about is, we're going to go in order of length again, is from Core's, one of his second channels, Time Out. It's an animation he did, very surrealist, and the kind of plot or anything, you know, like that, but depicting really interesting ideas. Like there is dialogue in this, but it feels very I don't know, very whimsical and thought-provoking. I don't know, there's just something of just like, you should just, yeah, or whatever. I don't know. It feels very artsy and expressive, and I really like the designs and the color palette as well. It feels very grounded, muted almost. It doesn't feel like it's all too flash and everything, so it makes it feel very central on the things going on, and making it's just like very thought-provoking, I guess. We're just like, you know, the cup breaking and water still spilling more and more and more and stuff like that. I just found that really interesting. But it's just great to see a creative outlet like this that Core is doing. And you know, is doing milk for, you know, in that grind set, right? So it's good to see these sorts of things that he's doing. He's very talented individual for sure. So Mega64 uploaded this video, anime fans versus sports fans, and it's more about like, what if anime fans acted like sports fans, and then what if, and then like towards the end is this like one skit of like, what if sports fans acted like anime fans. And I think the joke is supposed to be that like they're not that different, you know, like, you know, it feels like there's you know, there's so much overlap that it just comes off as them acting like hyperactive, overzealous anime fans, you know, kind of like that, like college humor, very uptight, like crazy passionate, kind of like obsessive anime fan. Feels very of that era, right? That as well. It just feels like this could have come out in like 2015, which, you know, I mean, they were pretty active since like 2004 or something like that, right? So it's like, yeah, it makes sense that they're in that, but it just kind of came out of nowhere, I guess. But you know, my favorite aspect was when the sports fan was like acting like an anime fan, because it was a lot more like quiet and nerdy. But there's like some kind of like dumb punching down. I felt like they were punching down, where it was just like, this certain player is my husbando or something, and I'm just like, yeah, all right. I feel like, you know, the actual fans that have this crossover, right, of like really into a certain sports but also deeply into anime, I don't know how they'd feel about this, you know. It'd be like, I don't know, maybe they'd appreciate it for sure. But I guess I've grown to be a little more weary or distasting, I don't know, tasting of this depiction of anime fans, you know. I'm kind of not happy about it, and it's just kind of annoying to see, you know. And you got the Dean erasure. They're like, the Seven Deadly Sins is animated from A1 Pictures to Studio Dean, so it doesn't look as good. It's like, all right, well, you know, Dean made some bangers. Hey, man, don't knock Dean completely. Hey, why don't we talk about the people who made this sort of thing? Is there any staff carrying over? Probably not, because it's a different studio. But like, you never know. A1 Pictures, yeah, yeah. It's just like, whatever, man. I don't know. It's just a joke thing. I wouldn't be taking it too seriously. But I will say that the thing that I like about comedy sketches, this format, I think I prefer the format of one skit, like it's one unbroken, it'd be one unbroken take or something like that. But I mean, like, it's one scene. It's not vignettes. This was vignettes. This is like 6 or 7 20-second vignettes or something like that. Like really quick and like a bunch of different ideas. And then let's just try all of them. It's like like a one line or a couple minute compilation, and there's some like overlap, there's some repetition and stuff. But I prefer like the kind of comedy, I like the comedy sketches of like Caleb City and RDC World, where it's one idea and you can and obviously this is one idea, but you can find ways to stack on it, right? So it just feels like it's all cohesive and in one scene that has like like an arc, kind of a beginning, middle, and like a bit of a story to it. I feel like we're evolved at this point, and it's not that Mega 64 is primitive in this in doing this. I guess you can have like mini sketches and stuff, but it was just felt I don't know, it didn't feel like I have a whole lot to it, and there was some like kind of unreasonable weird things to it as well. But like the one thing of they moved free the anime free from Funimation to Crunchyroll, and so they had like this sketch of like a guy hating Crunchyroll but like preferring Funimation, and then he burns his free wall scroll, in like a fire pit or whatever. And it's like, the sports fans do that, but it's not like exclusive to sports fans. That's like a book thing. There's any media, like there's plenty of people that have kind of made those over the top reactions type of thing. What I was thinking about with like sports, it's just like I would have really liked to see something kind of like sports analysis, with or I don't know, like ESPN or something. And I feel like ESPN or these other outlets, they really kind of not endorse. They kind of like spread that culture of sports where it's like you're really focused on the players and strategy and seasons and history. You're looking back at history. You're looking at the grand scheme of things and overanalyzing stuff, right? It's not. It is that sort of funny. But that is an overlap with anime fans, right? I feel like you could have made some kind of funny ESPN type of thing, but they're talking about like the directors or something like the episode. Maybe I'm being too nerdy about this. Maybe that's a little too deep. Cuts a little too deep. And maybe I'm so far down below an iceberg level that I don't know how regular fans act anymore. That's certainly possible. But like, I just a little more thought. Or just I don't know, there was just what I really like with Mega 64's other anime related videos that I've covered here, is that it feels like they've really paid attention to specific details and feels very authentic, like they really get what they're talking about. They've watched it and they're really closely replicating the thing that they're making. And I'm not saying they have to replicate anything here, but it's like that amount of creativity and time and thought. But I know you can't put that in every video. This is just kind of a fun whatever video. They all shot it at each of their houses and stuff, and like that's fine. I know I'm taking it a little too seriously, but like, yeah, I think there was just some things to be said about this that it's just cutting into. But again, my favorite part is probably going to Dick's Sporting Goods, and like it felt the guy acted in a way that was a lot less heated and more like genuinely enthusiastic and passionate, but like really like wholesome almost. I don't know. I preferred that vibe. Of course I did, but not gonna lie. But yeah, I'm subscribed to this channel, Prostrate Constantly, and they have this AMV, My Girls, and it's a bunch of really crusty gifs of like Lane and Sailor Moon mostly, some other things, set to a certain song. I don't remember the name of it, but like the cool thing about it was there's this loop that they do every 2 frames of a VTuber, and they flash what seems like every VTuber in existence, and it even when it's only flashing maybe 2 or 3 frames a sec, like 2 or 3 frames in a 24 frames per second thing, it still takes them like what feels like 15 or 20 seconds to loop through the entire group. It was just incredible. Just how many VTubers, and just the avatars, and then it was this interesting kind of meditative format where it's the 2 VTuber, it's the same loop, but it's on both sides of the screen. The screen is widescreen, and then the GIF kind of crusted in the middle. Like there's a composition of that, and there's something that feels like it would be like an art piece or something. You'd walk in a museum and see this sort of thing. I just find that really interesting. There was a bit of synchronization going on. I like that they had the album cover for, I suppose, what the song is from. I'm just assuming. They would flash it like an invert color a couple times to kind of match the music sometimes. But then for the most part, they would use the crusty GIFs and they'd let it loop like twice sometimes. but they would kind of like it would cut in time in a way that like fits right. I think that you'd be able to get progression, but the song's very trancey and repetitive, and you kind of get lost in it. So it's very similar like that. You kind of get, it's a sort of a hypnotic type of video experience, which I really enjoyed. I just found the thumbnail enticing enough to click on, and then saw it and was like, yeah, this is neat. This is really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed this. OniMaru had a live action video of you went to Japan but you were left unsupervised. I think he's changed the title on Thumb a little bit in places, because you know the vid's gonna vid. All right. He's like, yeah, like yeah, okay. I know what it's like. But yeah, this was him and his friend going to Japan to that Muscle Girl bar, and I liked his narrative and storytelling here. You tell this is something kind of different for him as well. Yeah, and there's another channel that did a similar thing that's kind of going out of their comfort zone. They're not really, it's like not like an essay type of thing, or even as much focused on a particular anime or using anime footage. So that's sort of like out of the box and different comfort zone type of thing is really cool. Yeah, and I was happy to see the kind of the progression there. Again, the storytelling is really great. And yeah, it seems like a fun experience, and I just wanted to shout that out. I unfortunately have too much else to say about it other than that, but I just wanted to support it and say that I think that was really cool. I like seeing that a lot. I don't know if you have more stories from your time in Japan, but if you do, I'm looking forward to them. Yeah, or, you know, or whatever. Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed that. CDogVA is on his one of his channels, the official ConnorClips of like just clips from his Twitch streams. Where he clipped out his video of getting to visit Studio Trigger, which I don't know if I don't follow his streams that closely. Obviously he streams a shit ton. But I didn't catch exactly why this wasn't like a main channel video that he posted. Maybe it's probably something to do with the sponsor, or they kind of maybe it was because he got to visit them because Trigger was making the animatic or kind of a commercial for this video game that Connor actually voices one of the characters in. So there's kind of a cross-promotional type of thing. And yeah, so like, and I think it was part of like a sponsored stream or something that you know, he's playing the game as well. But, you know, it's a whole thing about it. And I saw people try you know, tweeting about it with like certain content creators and stuff getting a certain rank or whatever. But the video, but you know, I'm happy he posted this in any capacity for people to see, because it's just really, really cool. It's not as like elaborate or extensive as Gigguk or Joey's Gart. I should just say Gart. Gart or Joey's videos about, like, I think it was White Fox and Cloverworks. I think those are the two, where they really went to like every department and like had a full. It felt very like official video type of thing. This was just like, it seems like a little, like a quick one room tour, like just kind of walking around saying hi to everybody and looking at some cool stuff. Very off the cuff type of deal, and that's fine. I mean, it's really cool to see regardless, and I think Connor has a good attitude towards it, and riffs a good, you know, a good couple things, and has a good rapport with the person he's talking with who's showing him around. I don't know if that had connection, if it's the same guy who is now running the Trigger channel, that was like, oh, they said what we should do to, you know, to be on the video and stuff like that, or just to running that. I'm not sure if it's the same guy. It could be. I'm sure he's involved in this in some capacity, right? Obviously. But yeah, so like Connor literally just like gets to say hi to Imaishi as he's working, and Yo Yoshinari and Sushio, and he's just like, that's Sushio, and they're like, he's the goat, and he's like, oh, okay. He's just like, he's really good. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, and seeing the desks of Akira Amamiya, it's like, this is the director of Dynazenon, and it's like, yeah, oh my god. Didn't see Kai Igarashi in there. Oh well, that's okay. That'd be cool. No, but like, you saw all the goats. He literally saw like everybody that major, besides like, I think the forget the name of the producer, the main like head of Studio Trigger. I don't think he was in the video either, but it's fine. It's fine. You still got to see fucking Imaishi. Yo Yoshinari got like a I forget the name of them, but like the certain signature cards, like get like an art for it. Yo Yoshinari gave one of those to him. That was super sick. I don't know. It's just like really cool to see, even vicariously. I'll admit it's vicarious, you know. But like, that's really great. And again, I think he had a good rapport, and it was just a fun experience. You know, it was probably just some. I don't know why it's like a main. I can maybe could be a variety of different reasons, but again, I'm happy it's posted at all. It's great. I found everyone's next anime crush from Gigguk, and he's talking about this manga that I don't know has an English release. It's one of the like, more popular ones, as he was demonstrating on like some website, but all the scans he was using are in Japanese, which makes sense because it's like you don't use fan translations. I'm sure it's been maybe the fans have translated it or something. I don't think it's got an English release though, but not that it matters much to him. He's in Japan, you know. You can just do that. But yeah, it was really well edited, of course. But I really liked. He feels like he has a lot more manic energy in this video, a lot more panicky, and feels like maybe like he knows his trash taste audience, which has really made a significant impact on all of their lives, right? I feel like he has this performative aspect now. It just came off in this video that it just feels a lot more like more reactionary. Like the minute he said slice of life, he's like, wait, you know, and that's funny. I was laughing I think he lands a lot of great jokes in this. But you know, one thing that he did in here that I was sort of like, you know, which of course I'm going to be a little defensive about, of course, but like, because I'm just defensive about most stuff like this, I guess, where Garn seems to, you know, and I think he's had this opinion before. It's not like you know, he's used to this, but like slice of life. He took a real knife and really stabbed it. Really took a shot at general cute girls doing cute things shows. Lucky Star got mud. K-On! Hidamari's sketch took a couple strays. He's like, what am I, a Funko Pop? Like he's criticized. Like he's like, I'm not gonna watch this show. What am I, a Funko Pop to Hidamari's sketch? And I'm like, all right, like, sheesh, dude. Like, I don't know. It just felt out of pocket to me. I didn't feel like you needed that bashing, especially when like his point is that they're all kids in high school. He's 30 now, so he can't watch these shows anymore. And look, I'm not 30 yet. I can't speak from experience. And, you know, there may be something to be said about that of like a person's age, right? Maybe I'm at the kids' table, you know, like I'm, I don't want to be like a toddler or something and sitting at like the short little plastic kids' table for kindergartners or something. Maybe there's an insecurity there. Maybe that's your problem. No, but, you know, like, are we really doing this? I don't know. I guess we are, you know, but it's like, you know, that was weird to me. And his real point was that, like, oh my God, it's for adults. Oh my gosh, they're adults. And doing this, like, slice of life thing is like, wow, I love it, type of thing. But all of his explanations of, like, you know, why it's enjoyable is stuff that you can apply to these other shows. Because it doesn't matter their age. It doesn't matter. Like, in the art style is a completely separate level of that, where it's like, you know, you can enjoy an art style in one way or another, but like, that's a separate thing from like how the characters develop and the problems that they're going through. Just because they're 19 or 16 doesn't mean they're dealing with non-human issues that you would never deal with at 30. Like, sure, maybe there's something to be said about like, oh, my first crush or something like that. But like the emotions that go through those, that you go through in that, or like friendships and betrayals and not like there's big dramatic stories that I'm talking about in these cute girls doing cute things shows, but even a show like Do It Yourself that came out this season or two ago, Bocchi the fucking Rock. He watched Bocchi the Rock the other season, and I thought he liked that one a lot. What's wrong? It's like, what's going on? You know, it's human experience. It doesn't matter the age in that instance. Obviously, there's some within some reason, of course, but like, in that case, go show by show. It's a show by show basis, right? If there's something that you don't feel, but like, do you watch anime that only is just like, oh, only I can relate to this? Like, no, I can't relate to anybody in Berserk in terms of like being in a medieval fantasy and, like buff and I don't know, but like I can relate to his feelings of inadequacy or trauma or love or friendship, right? Because those are universal traits. Those are human traits. You know, it doesn't matter if it's in a fucking fantasy and it's a cartoon. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm blowing this sort of thing out of proportion. I just am particularly sensitive where it's like you did not need to shove Lucky Star and Hidamari Sketch and these and K-On! and whatever under the bus to prop up this like smoking manga. Like that's kind of a cute thing, and it kind of reminds me of After the Rain actually a little bit, because there's that age gap, not a problematic age gap, but still. And I don't know, just the ruminations on life and stuff. I just would have liked to hear more of what makes it adult. Just, it's okay if they, like, yeah, cool, adult characters, but what do they talk about, right? Because there's a lot of anime, you could, out there in anime and manga, you can understand that like just because the characters are adults doesn't mean it's an adult story at all. But anyway, yeah, and I just felt that was something that really stuck out to me. But the video is really well made. I think he's keeping the audience's attention the whole time. He's very tight, where it keeps the energy up. I laugh at pretty much all the jokes, pretty much all of them. I don't know, the fact that he bookends this video with that point of like, I'm 30, I can't be watching this anymore. It's like, all right, yeah, we know, we know that you're a 30 and have a wife now. Like, that's awesome. Don't let fucking just, fucking, it doesn't stop Grumpy G-san, which is a video that I'll talk about later. But yeah, Beyond Ghibli had a talk about one of his favorite creators. Oh, I meant, is that presumptuous of me? Presumptuous? I think you've talked about him quite a number, not in other videos, but just to me in general, I think. You're really singing the guy's praises. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. Yoshiura? I think so. Time of Eve and Sing a Bit of Harmony. I had heard the name Sing a Bit of Harmony, and I think you've made point of this in your last video, actually, how like there's a lot of these anime films that are original or like, but singular. They're not like series tie-ins or like the Demon Slayer movie or something like that. But there's a lot of these movies, and like a lot of them bleed together for me at least. And I'm not saying that for you, but it's just sort of like, I just found that interesting. But it feels you're kind of diving through that pile a little bit. Yeah, restricting to kind of, I don't know what I'm saying. I should rewatch your Steins Gate video now that I've watched the show. Not a bad idea. Just looking at your channel a bit. What I really wanted to comment on in this vid was, I think you really hit strong on the intro. I think just like how long you spend on the importance of this figure and that sort of thing, like the tone you're setting with this, or just science fiction and the amount of things that you're pulling, really landed it, and I think you were hooking a viewer very effectively. And then when you're getting to Time of Eve, and it's funny, I thought I'd seen Time of Eve, and I actually completely forgot that's the premise. I completely blanked on it. I was just like, oh yeah, wow. And it's like, I'm like, wow, I should check this show out. Wait, I have seen this show technically. So I don't know, that was weird. But I should probably watch the movie compilation in that case. I've already seen the OVA, but a while ago, and probably was only half paying attention. So it is what it is. But what I wanted to make mention is that like the Time of Eve contrast with Sing a Bit of Harmony, and the way that you transition, you're building your point about science fiction and then bringing it in this kind of like conventional, like, yeah, it's not always as it seems, and it's very thought-provoking and serious and demure. Is demure the word? Demure? I don't know if it's the word. I don't think it's the word. Sounds right, but I don't know, but then swings up with Sing a Bit of Harmony, which is like very one note almost. I think you say refreshing in how one note it is almost. It's like very positive and no moral grayness or anything. Like, this is great. Like, this is really cool. Kind of that swing, and the emotional journey of this video I think is really great, in tone wise and just in subject matter. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. You know what I was just thinking? I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the thumb, and you asked for my feedback on the thumb, and I was like, it looks good, or just the and I was talking about certain composition, whatever, and and all I was thinking about was the colors and the composition. I wasn't even reading necessarily what it is, because it's sort of like, oh, it's about the execute, not necessarily the substance or whatever. But I feel like the substance, to me, the girl in this in Sing a Bit of Harmony, and I've heard the anime title before, I didn't know it was about a robot. I didn't know it was an android. And I know you say Rise of the Android, that you show like this seemingly human girl or whatever. I don't know. Maybe you could have some kind of contrast of like, like some of like the way that this director kind of portrays this like cognitive dissonance almost of like seeing what seems like a pretty normal human girl, and then has like a PC in her stomach, just like a big hard drive, something like that. That contrast is really interesting, and maybe something you could have played with in the thumbnail. But you see, I didn't really prod, and like, I just would, so I apologize for that. I've been given a little more, like, I don't know, but maybe that would have been generic or something, where you have like a split, but you did that in the Inner Steins video too. I don't know. Yeah, I just wanted to give just realized about that. But yeah, I really liked the video a good deal, and I'm looking forward to Chobits for sure. The past 2 years have been a failure for Mudan, and I was you baited me, dude. You baited me good, because I was just sort of like, oh wait, what, and I was thinking it could be more of it is a reflection on the past couple of years, but it's just the frame, it's just the YouTube title to talk about all of his different things that he didn't turn into videos because they ended up horribly, or something messed up or whatever, or they kind of failed. And seeing this sort of live I was about to say edutainment, and I'm like, it's not educational. Like, when he's writing the B-movie script and like speed running it or whatever. Yeah, this kind of like entertainment and live aspect, I agree, is really interesting and in kind of a new frontier that still doesn't feel all that explored. It's being explored by a couple of individuals, but the fact that it's so saturated with existing, just reacting to things, talking, just chatting, being in a live environment with somebody is itself exciting to us still. So doesn't feel like there's too much need for experimentation, and it's also like the resources and the uncertainty of how it's going to turn out because it's live, and it's like you're not like, I don't know how often these sort of live things are rehearsed necessarily. I mean, sometimes they can. I'm sure they can be. I'm sure Germa's probably done that before, but maybe not. I don't know. But there's like very few creators in the space that are really pushing that forward, or just, they're playing video games, and that's fine. That's entertainment enough. I'm missing out a stream right now on Critical playing Tears of the Kingdom for the first time, and I'm hoping he's enjoying it. I'll probably tune in as soon as I finish recording. No, but yeah, but like, I really like seeing you doing that stuff and seeing what's possible, and putting yourself out there and overcoming certain challenges, and you have like the kind of a corkboard of like crossing off certain things, and you don't give up. That's the awesome thing too. You have a really great attitude about these things. You don't feel super frustrated or dejected for a lot of this stuff. It doesn't feel like at least that comes across on screen. I'm sure you're like fuming about some of these, but then it doesn't feel like that even in this video sort of thing, which is impressive. You just have a really great attitude about this sort of thing, and especially the fact that you really try to succeed in these things. Like, I failed that, and then towards the end of the video, it's like, here's like going through each of these failures and be like, I'm going to succeed here, and seeing you overcome those obstacles that you've set up for yourself completely by yourself. Yeah, I just thought that was really fun and interesting. And obviously, I think this video allows you to, it's more essay type of thing. It's not like a stream edit compilation of, and some edits, things that you hand off to your editor. It feels like this was one that you made. And that's not to degrade your team of editors or anything, or maybe I'm wrong and that was one of your editors or something working on this. Sorry. But I'm pretty sure this was, yeah, you had editing help from Danny, which is cool. But it feels like this felt like in your overproduction, kind of like very immersive and like editing crack. You know, people who edit like myself and can appreciate these sorts of moves and these sequences and the formatting and everything. Your videos are like crack, you know, because it's just like, wow, you know, and that's something that we can, that those of us who make videos can really sink our teeth into and appreciate it and see from one of the best, easily one of the best for sure. And not just in like like, you know, it's one thing to have like cool creative ideas or like to be all super fancy the way you do it in your own videos, but even just your work ethic. I think you know, I feel like they've probably mentioned to you before, or you know, in general. But I think you've hear it time and time again that you're known for your efficiency, or maybe it's not efficiency, but diligence and speed and just being, you know, hard worker, insanely hard worker, you know, and that's such a admirable quality. And just wanted to, yeah, I don't know, it's great. I'm showering with praise now. I like the video a lot. Yeah, it was great. Bonsai Pop had at least 2 videos this month, but I wanted to check out the DMC video because I like the Toitometosity, DMC. I love the way they said that. You know, that is the same director as Aoihana, Flowers of Evil, and Mushishi, and the Uzumaki anime that hasn't come out yet. that was announced around the time I started AniTube Digest, and now it's rearing 4 or 5 years. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I hope it comes out. I hope it's good. I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, I always really like the anime, not just for its, you know, obviously I like the material and it's funny, but I think you do make a very good point about it's very one note. It's very repetitive gags. I think the format does kind of betray it a little bit because despite being longer than a movie, like, and because you have the movie that you think is better than the anime, even though all 3 of them have their, you know, limitations, right? With manga, you're only releasing so many a chapter, so many pages per chapter, and chapters in a volume and stuff like that, and you're kind of worrying about that pacing. For some reason, yeah, I think the anime, the fact that it was released in 13-minute, like in half-length episodes, does kind of restrict it to being just a few, you know, one story, very repetitive gags, and kind of the same thing at the end. I don't think the joke got old, so I think that was fine. And, you know, it was also just this dissonance that I've had with Mark, with Totally Not Mark, and will have with, and there was a video later that did this that was just like, to me, as an anime guy, because it's like, you kind of just be like, the anime is technically the worst version of of this story that you could watch. I think you still kind of attest to being decent at least, but you definitely have more criticisms of it than the movie or the manga. Like, the manga is kind of the best one, and the movie's actually really good if you check it out. And I really like that perspective, obviously. I really like that it's not very narrow, just the anime or something. I was really encouraged and happy to see that take. But, like, the most of the video is showing the anime, you know, to me. So it's sort of like, you should own it. If you really think the manga is kind of the way to go, just show the manga. And I know that's harder, and maybe it's like in your schedule is like you just wanted to put this video out and this thing. And manga's way more difficult to edit than everything, and obviously, I mean, I don't know. I maybe the movie would have been a little more unwieldy or something, or like unappealing. I don't know. But I mean, that was a little dissonance to me, where it's like you're mostly kind of showcasing this show using the anime, but then you also say that the anime is kind of the worst version to experience this, you know what I mean? So there was that, I don't know, conflict of interest. I don't know if that's the way to put it. I don't know. But yeah, I really liked your attitude with this, and talking about it, and the points you were bringing up about the pig of capitalism and things like that. I stand by that the ED is a banger. I don't care if that's his only song and then it sucks or whatever. No, I really like it. I'm going to probably... The ED's a banger. Forget what I was about to say. It was cringe. The ED's a banger. Yes, sorry. I really just enjoyed this video, of course, a good deal. I love DMC. I love you talking about it. Oh, the fucking... Relating it to your own channel as well. It's sort of like, it's not what you expected to do, and this is what you're doing anyway, and you kind of find that weird, like, yeah, but I do kind of like it, you know, and there's this, like, turning, I don't know, and relating it to yourselves is like, I wouldn't have expected to do this. And then they'd say like Tyler's it's like it's a gaming channel. You want to be a Let's Player. You wanted to be a Let's Player. Admit it. Yeah, that's so funny. Oh man, really fun, entertaining video. Of course, you can't go wrong with DMC, but I really liked it. Yeah. Beyond Animation sent me his video on, if you love Chainsaw Man, watch Evil Dead. And you know what? I have some experience with Chainsaw Man. I am reading part 2, but I haven't finished part 1 in the manga. I know, blasphemous. But I have seen the first season of Chainsaw Man, but I haven't seen any Evil Dead movies. I'm familiar with them. I have seen the Evil Dead musical. I did see that at my college. Performed it, put on a production of it, and it was interesting. But it's probably very different from this. Or just all the different iterations and stuff. Where, yeah, so like this, the vid really felt like a Evil Dead overview, just kind of going through each entry and explaining them and what kind of makes them different and interesting and fun, and why you like them, I guess. And in terms of like relating it to Chainsaw Man, I think at one point you said it doesn't have too much to do with Chainsaw Man, and it's more of like you found one through line with Ash versus the Evil Dead, but you felt the need to explain the rest of the franchise. I feel like if you were able to just focus on Ash versus the Evil Dead and just kind of explain it as you're going along, like, hey, so this is what happened to him, and you can kind of catch up in that way. But then like the real thing is that like you're having kind of both Chainsaw Man and Evil Dead in the title and thumbnail, so people are kind of going into it expecting something with both of them in it, and I feel like the Chainsaw Man presence was extremely minimal, like almost non-existent. And I think you do kind of make this point of just like, it doesn't have that much in common, not really, but I don't know, if you see it, then go for it, you know, and really kind of like talk about even just like kind of basic things like the irreverence of Fujimoto's dialogue with the irreverence of Sam Raimi's. I don't know if Sam Raimi writes the Evil Dead Ash, at least the Ash ones. I don't know, the kind of irreverent humor and the contrast of comedy and horror, and what effects that does that have, and how does that entertain in this way? How do they kind of like, how would, if you enjoy Chainsaw Man, really not codifying, but like narrating what you like about it, the elements that are there, and being like, those are in Evil Dead, or just sort of like, here's how it Evil Dead, and twists it in a different way because obviously they're different stories. I'm making all this point because my next video is a similar idea where I'm talking about 2 shows. One of them that was a favorite of mine for a long time, and watching this next anime really reminded me of that other show that I love, and that actually enhanced my enjoyment of of the thing that I was watching, to the point where both of them have kind of shared my top 5 now. They're kind of in the same spot, like kind of like together, and they feel very inseparable to me. I don't know, in a way that's just kind of makes sense to me, I guess. But like, you know, and so what I'm thinking with my video is that I really want to have an even balance. Obviously, it's sort of like from the new show's perspective, because the old one I've talked about before on the channel. A lot of people love it already. So I kind of am putting it, like, minimizing it a little bit. And maybe that's what you were doing with this video, where like, yeah, you probably know already Chainsaw Man. I don't really have to go into it in much detail. But let me talk more about Evil Dead. But it ended up feeling almost entirely about Evil Dead. And that's okay. But it was just like a weird branding of that. And maybe it was because like you realize it's like, oh, you're an animation channel or something, and maybe that there's this, like, I kind of have to twist it and like maybe get the Chainsaw Man audience to get to watch this video instead of just making an Evil Dead video. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know the motivations and thoughts, but I just didn't feel like the packaging matched what was in the box, I guess, necessarily. And that's okay, you know, sometimes that happens, but just felt noticeable to me, I guess. But yeah, I still liked the video though. I liked your observations about Evil Dead, but that was just something that was nagging at me eventually, was when I was realizing that, like, okay, so when are you gonna really like mention Chainsaw Man? And you know, not that like, you know, big, like, oh, I'm waiting for Chainsaw Man or something, but it just felt weird when it was framed in this way, I guess. God, I am rusty. I'm like, I'm exhausted, and it's only less than 40. It's like 40 minutes. Come on. I used to go for way longer than that. Anyway, hiding in public, visiting Poland's biggest anime store. I was really happy to see this because I was curious about your store about your trip to Poland once I saw some pictures and stuff. I thought it was just a really exciting adventure. I liked your narration through it and kind of talking you through it. I liked the focus and the kind of the directness of the points. It wasn't just like a kind of a flaccid tour or something like that. It didn't feel that indulgent in this way. It felt very like really trying to like get you to learn some stuff, like open your mind a little bit. You realize that like when we talk about localization, we're only talking about the English side of things. But here's Poland. Here's the different kind of different examples and stuff. I just really like the points you were making to feel very substantive. It doesn't feel like a touristy video, even though the title and thumb is dead nuts, like a Chris Broad video, or I would say Chris Broad, and then like obviously Joey and Garton and Connor have made similar videos, but Chris is the OG. Chris is the one been making this. He's still kind of the king, and it's even like framed in a similar with the text and everything. But I'm down. I love Chris. I love Chris's videos for sure. And yeah, I just like the points that you were bringing to it. Feel very substantive, and I like just the transparency of your trip, where you were talking about your efficiency of the journey, and like I was fortunate to not have to spend a whole lot because I was rooming with people and things like that. And obviously your trademark kind of like personal introspective and how you were feeling and your mental state, and it wasn't too present in this video, but like it's still in a way that's exciting and interesting. But another thing that was kind of different obviously this format is very different for not too different, I will admit. I know you do have like some AX videos and talking about various story and like journey type of videos, so it's not completely out of your wheelhouse, but I don't know, it's very fresh and exciting to me, even though I've seen those other videos for sure. But then what I also noticed was you end the video fairly around like 12 minutes or 13 minutes or something, maybe I'm exaggerating, and do patron questions. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a neat addition. It reminded me of what Pause and Select would do with his patron stuff. I don't know if he does it so much anymore, but yeah, I just thought that was a cool idea, and yay. I really enjoyed it. Very happy to see that. Cheems, first time I'm talking about this channel, and he's been mostly making Gundam videos or mecha stuff, doing pretty well with those, but then he had a kind of a 5-month break, which rookie numbers. How about a 10-month break? Oh god. But I know that's my life. God. But he comes back with a Endless Flames of Passion Asha no Joe video, kind of a swing for a thumbnail there. I don't know if he drew it or someone else drew it. It's kind of unique, a pretty cool thumb. I did have a couple of nitpicks. So I mean, full transparency, if you didn't know, it's my favorite anime, Asha no Joe specifically, and he keeps saying he read it. It's one of my favorite manga now. It's a great read, and I'm like, read? Yeah, one of the greatest manga series. And the thing, and what was frustrating, it would have been frustrating regardless, obviously, because the anime is my favorite thing. But he's showing the anime. He's showing it on screen, and then he's only referring to the manga, really. But there is one like mention of Joe 2's first episode of like, oh, there's this anime scene in the anime, which I guess is anime original. I'll figure that. Maybe there's more of those. Maybe that's a really additive, really cool. You should totally. Yeah, but I was a little I'm a little bitch boy with it. You get protective of your old times. You get very like, okay, what do you got? Like of your favorites and stuff. It's mostly talking about his relation, how it reminded him. It was very introspective of burnout and passion for making videos, and his relationship to them, and realizing getting burnt out, and because he was making like a video about Gunbuster and realizing it just he was very dissatisfied with it and couldn't make it, or just feeling very creatively you kind of had a crisis of creativity, where it's like maybe it's different from what I was going through, but like I had a very similar kind of like burnout, but I didn't register it as burnout because I don't want to make it a whole thing, but like I didn't register my thing as burnout because I still wanted to make videos, and I still did, but it was a trauma. It was making something that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but like I should have seen that coming. Like I should have expected that result, and I went way too hard in the pain, and like I had a crisis of like, am I even good at this, that sort of thing. But I really liked it. It was really cool seeing that connected to Joe specifically. I thought that was a great salient point, and it felt like you understood the material well, in a good way. Again, the little like humps of things for but it's just me being very particular, and literally like I literally reach over and I have the Joe manga. I have the whole thing. Only recently just got it, but like I'm gonna be making a full manga to anime comparison. Hopefully, that's my intention, at least soon at some point. So that's obviously that's a sweet spot. I guess not even a sweet spot, sore spot for me. To be like showing anime clips, but you were like, it's the manga. The manga's great. I liked what you were doing with the editing of the manga is good. Although I noticed, and maybe it's, what it was, and I bet this is what it was, is that you only downloaded a couple of episodes. You downloaded like the episode after the Rikishi Joe fight. You downloaded episode 1 of Joe 2, maybe like the second to last or last episode, obviously the last episode of Joe 2. Certain, the first episode of Joe 1, of stuff like that. Like, so only, not all the whole series, because when you, most casual viewers aren't going to pick up on this, but it's sort of like when you can tell somebody has downloaded the whole show when it's like a lot of different clips from all different episodes and stuff. And it feels more, I don't know, broader. It just feels like, I don't know, big, more variety. From someone who understands, who's edited with that material, like someone who's intimate with episode 1 of Joe 2 knows like, oh, that's from Joe 2, that's from Joe 2. A lot of this is from Joe 2, episode 1 specifically, right? From the same source. And that's for efficiency's sake. That totally just makes sense. It's smart, of course. But I don't know, this is like a weird thing for me where I'm like, what, you don't think the way Joe 1 animated the Joe Rikishi fight was that good? Where's the footage? Like, wait, show it, because he's talking about the Joe Rikishi fight, and he only uses footage from Joe 2 from there, and it's brief. It's not the full fight. It's just like brief like showcases of the fight that are like flashback to, technically, in Joe 2. I don't know. It's a nitpick thing, obviously, but I'm gonna do that when it's I care about it so deeply. Anyway, yeah, but I really liked the point salient. I like how personal it is, and I was reflecting how, like, again, I have a similar kind of YouTube trauma or like experience like this, and it does relate to the video I just put out this past week. But I decided that it was kind of better left unsaid, and I didn't want it to detract from the point I wanted to make with the video. And the thing is that like I liked this show a lot and I didn't want it to be like completely colored or interpreted as my personal experience with it. I really wanted to showcase it as a series people have barely had any experience with, explain its production history and kind of this interesting thing about it, and really show it off, and let it kind of, because I like the show a lot, so I don't want it to necessarily be like intrinsic or so make it all about me type of deal. But it makes sense with Joe in your case, because this is a show all of us share. This is a show that's pretty popular. It's never been brought to the United States. It's not that popular. It's not fucking One Punch Man, but it is a shared experience. Like a lot of us have this kind of like resonation with Joe and with the show itself and what it's trying to do. And that's what makes it so enduring and a classic, you know, and still relevant, and still people making videos about it over 50 years later, right? My point being that like I decided not to go to say anything of the personal things that affected me in my video, but it was nice to see that someone like yourself is able to do that in this video. I think I pretty much made that point. I don't know, because because this is a more well-known thing and you can be personal, whereas this show that hardly anyone's heard of, that like this will probably be the biggest high-profile representation that it gets. I don't want to make it all about me. Is my sort of thing. I don't know. That's not a criticism of your video or anything. I like that you're being personal. It's one of my favorite things, that it's something that's so singular to YouTube. You don't really see this on television unless it's like a documentary or something, you know, that's like it's supposed to be all about them or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just really like this. It's a good vid. Got this recommended to me from Taste of Victory. Don't think I've talked about them before. A year-long Conan O'Brien Digimon mystery solved. And I hate to spoil the video, but it is actually a doctored image. It is fake. And I like that Taste of Victory spent about the first third or half of the video talking about their personal search and finding out that other people were searching for it, and talking about their process of how they were going to find it and stuff like that. And then suddenly reply, and it's like, oh, there, it was fake. And so he actually interviewed the guy from Scotland who discovered this, and the half the video is just a video conversation with the two of them of how he figured this out and how he narrowed it down with like the background and then his suit and like the era of the show, the way his face looks like on the camera, like the lens they were using or something, like his face looks kind of different or something. Timelines, of course, really extrapolating this sort of thing, but it was just really fascinating. It's unfortunate it wasn't real, or it could be. It's still it's safely debunked, but you never know, this sort of thing. I'm sorry I have too much else to say beyond that. I think the narrative is really interesting. It doesn't have that much in the way of flashiness or anything, but it's a cool story. Interesting to see. Yeah, I wanted to mention that. It's cool. Clear and sweet with a very vulnerable video. Autism, anime, and romance as an adult, saying the wrong thing. And half the video, like the second half or the second third maybe, Clear and Sweet goes through several different examples of like a conversation or an interaction between a couple or some kind of romantic exchange, and he's kind of critiquing it or talking about what to take away from it, and trying to learn about this art of talking romantically and being on dates and and progressing relationships with people. And but the first half really is just his sort of like his struggle with autism, or his ARD, forget the name, it's not proper, well, it's basically autism, because it's a certain diagnosis, and then there's like, yeah, back then they wouldn't diagnose it as this or something like that. They diagnose autism as this other thing, and now it's this, I don't know, he's on the spectrum. And talking about his frustration in the latter third, definitely going a little more harder on like, I've been trying and I can't, and just being very vulnerable and honest, and in what people what he's experienced. And it's really hard to do that, really hard. And so I'm happy to see that the comments have been very warm and receptive for the most part. It seems like people are really giving these long essays of their experiences and their struggles with this sort of thing. I don't know, that I think that itself is a win. It's better than any commentary I can give. I guess for what I could give from my personal experience, yeah, I've had one date in my whole life. And I can't relate to I can't give you advice, and I can't give you, it's hard for me to say much more, because the way you talk about people try to cheer you up, and it's sort of like it's like telling a depressed person to just be happy, you know. It sort of just doesn't land right. So I'm not gonna flatter you. Is that the way? Or I'm gonna entertain that notion. I don't know if that'll come off as more blunt or not. No, but I don't want to entertain that. But like, I guess for me, well, to be frank, I can't relate to what you've gone through, because you try. At least you try. I have not at all. I just don't. I'm not on dating apps. I don't go out. I'm just here, you know? And I'm fostering friendships with people. That's just me, you know? And it's, I'm not thinking about it in those terms. I don't know if it's because I'm aromantic or not. I don't know. It's just it's just because, I guess, to me, I know how much a relationship matters, and you have to put work in, and it's a fostering a connection, and it's not simply, I don't want to lecture you because I don't negative. I have no experience. I have as much experience in the same way. You have more experience than me because you've actually tried, you know. But I guess I have a similar perspective, because a lot of what I know about romance is informed by media in the same way, I guess. I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but like, to me, it's always seemed that like it's the relationship first, in terms of just what they mean as the person. Do you help them? Do you be there for them? Are you a friend? You know? And then romance is sort of like happens. You know, it's just sort of like that, and it's a mutual thing. I have had one unrequited thing. I've had one love that like was really in love with somebody, but the circumstances we were in, it was a working relationship, and you know, having a romantic relationship in this environment was simply not acceptable. It was just simply not acceptable. You know, it couldn't happen. So I just had to endure it. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying what I had to do. I think it's tough, because I'm only really going to find those relationships and have any of that potential in those environments where it wouldn't be appropriate, like at work. You know, like workplace relationships are not the most ideal, and not exactly a great idea, that sort of thing. But unfortunately, that's like like most of my human interaction. So, you know, so I'm just sort of just like, all right, you know. And I also, I don't know, maybe this is like incel behavior or something, but like the thought of like, you know, our world is our culture right now is really fucked. The fact that you can only get dates through dating sites. You can't just like go to a bar and find people and have a conversation with them. Very few people are open like that now, especially the pandemic, after the pandemic. There's very few third places anymore. You know, third places, that's not your home and it's not your work. You know, it's the bar, playground, a movie. Where do you hang out? The mall, all the dead malls, right? Very easy to be cynical about those sorts of things, but I am using them as an excuse. But if I really want it, then I should do it. But no, but it really is that I think my reason, and I'm sorry I'm making this all about me. You see what you do with your video, I think, and this is what all the comments is their personal experience. And I think it's just you being so open and vulnerable, and saying that maybe you'll always be alone. Like that's crazy. I don't know. Not crazy in the, like, it's just brave. You know, it's just like really like, or maybe it's not brave. I don't know. I'm very fence city today. They're squatting that fence, you know. Here I am, the neutral shapes. No, but yeah. Where was I going with that shit? To me, my logic is I am putting my attention and focus on this, on my work, on my job, and that's it. And also just maintaining the relationships I do have. I have friends, I have family, and I want to spend time with them. I don't want to just like, I don't have parents that really will allow me to not see them for more than a week. So I mean, you know, I live fairly close to them, which is a blessing. Some people don't have that, and they miss their parents or something, or they only see them at holidays or something. But like, yeah. So I mean, I'm as long as I'm present and cognizant of what I'm doing, and if I have a problem or I feel like I'm wanting more and I want to keep trying, then I'll do it. If you don't want to give up, then don't. If you want to give up, then do. It's up to you, I guess. So I don't know how encouraging that is. I want to be encouraging, but I don't want to say something that's just like, well, that doesn't help. Maybe that's up to the individual. You can be allowed to say that, and I should be okay with that. I don't know. This turned out weird. Maybe this one. I liked the video. It just feels more to say that, you know, feels like I have to say these sorts of things because again, it feels like that's what the video calls for in response. Or maybe it doesn't. Or maybe it was like, no, I didn't. I don't know. Yeah, it was really vulnerable, really interesting to hear from you in this way. Again, it was similar to the last video, the second last video I just talked about with Cheems, which is like being personal and how I felt like being personal wasn't the right call in my video. I don't know. It just made me reflecting on that. Like, it was encouraging to see other people doing that. Yeah. The Ghibli Batman. You know, Steven, you're big. You're big. You're the bigger person here. You didn't go out and flame these people that were telling you were a liar and spreading misinformation. You could have been like, these motherfuckers right here. This is the fucking proof, you know. But you don't dwell on it. You just made the video in terms of like, here are the facts, here's the whole thing, and here's what I find interesting about this sort of thing. You know, and man, you're bigger man than most of us, I'd say. And like, there were some of us for you, be it like once this video came out, and be like, where are they now? Where are those haters now? Did they take their posts down? And like all of us were like about that. But yeah, I don't know. You're such a you're the bigger man. You're the bigger man for this, for sure. The way you handled this in this video, I think, even just going so far as the amount of resources that you're doing and showing these animators, not just their names, but showing their faces. Like, you found footage of them and like, here's this person, and putting a face to these animators is a whole step above just saying their name. I think the name is like a bare minimum, and it's only so much we can do, and very, very few people do that. But then it's even better to show their face and to show who these people are, to me, because it shows that they're human. It shows that they're people. And I don't know. And to me, you know, I'm sorry, but it's just like, it struck me how many of them were women. I was like surprised by that for some reason. I don't know. It was just really cool. And I don't know. It's just and I'm allowed to be surprised, not in a like, they shouldn't be, not in that way. I'm just like, you don't see that. I wish you saw that, but or maybe it's more invisible. I don't know. Every time I see that, like, I think Matteo had a couple things with that, with the Mushi Pro stuff, that there was a couple animators like that. I don't know. So, you know, women in the industry is like, you know, they're more prevalent than you think. Still not that prevalent, but still, it was, I don't know, something notable, something I wanted to make mention of. I don't know. I know you didn't point that out, which is the classy thing to do, obviously. But I'm gonna. This is unscripted digest. You know, it's fine. I can be like, oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I just really like the ultimate point in this video in terms of like, these credits, man. They're not shit. You have no idea. We will never know. There's no way to properly adequately talk about it. I think the individual can say, I did this, but then memory or no one cares or whatever, it's, you know, doesn't happen eventually. Like we're working on something right now, and they've entrusted me to do a lot of work on it, which I'm very grateful for. So when it comes out, I'm pretty sure I'm being listed as one of the main producers, or, you know, at least being high on the credits, because of the amount of work I did for it. So that's really encouraging, you know, but even that is not going to fully encapsulate exactly everything I did. Because even if I say, oh, I did this thing like background art or QC, I can't then list every single thing that I did, you know, like listing it bullet point. I mean, sure, but it wouldn't be very interesting, and it would lose your attention very quickly. There's like, oh yeah, there's a little problem right there, and we fixed it. There's a lot of things in like the artistic process that happens, and the credits aren't going to necessarily reflect that. But yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed this video naturally. I'm looking forward to the Princess Mononoke video. Yeah, PicotheSpicyWarlord, man, I'm starting to really like this dude's vids. And not that I wasn't before. But it's just like every one I have checked out has been just like fucking awesome. I just really like his humor. His editing styles is very manic and crazy, and I don't know, it's just like a lot of good fun, a lot of good time. And this is a tribute to Grumpy G-san, who is a anime YouTuber from 2007 to 2011. Before going inactive, and I really appreciate that Pico went all the way, watching every video of his, and really diving into all the different posts and the history, and like finding out who this guy is, and what he did for anime fandom. Because it seems that from what we do know, he wasn't just this like random old person that started watching anime all of a sudden, started making videos. He was a really ingrained member of this community in the 80s and 90s, and was a foundational member, really. Never bragged about it, never really talked about it on his channel. It was just reviews on his channel. I don't know. And I've always really liked his vids. I've only seen a couple of them. They're very repetitive. They're very similar, like, you know, Ebert review type of thing where it's a format and stuff. But yeah, like, Pico was completely right about the vibes and the little eccentricities and all those sorts of things. I really like his commentary. I also, you know what thing I shout out on his editing style here? You know what was really dope? He shows so many reaction shots and he does so many wacky edits and stuff. But whenever he shows a clip of Grumpy G-san, nothing. He does not add anything. He lets it play. That's great. That shows restraint. That is tactful. It was something I was starting to notice more and more, because every time there was that much contrast, really, because he would show a clip of Grumpy G-san, and then when he goes back to his narration, it's like 5 anime girls making different reactions and doing all this crazy shit, and then he would do another clip and it was just clean and that's it. And then they go back to doing this, you know, so there's this starts to be noticeable, not in a stick out like, oh, that's weird kind of way. It makes you realize that, like, oh, he's letting the footage speak for itself. And I think that the clips, the particular moments he chooses out of all of his videos is phenomenal. And I don't know, it just felt very all-encompassing, thoughtful, funny, sharp. You know, not like just, you know, not prescient. I don't know what the word is, but like there's a post where it talks that mentions it's a 4chan user who says his grandfather passed away and he's claiming to be Grumpy G-san, but then he's like, yeah, the certain things are not adding up in terms of the numbers and you know, certain nuances and stuff. But so it's discerning. That's the word. It is discerning, I think. But yeah, I love this video. It's a banger. It's very, very good. The most basic rule of storytelling is the one that no one knows. And I believe you changed the thumb and title for this. Or maybe you did. I don't know. Unique's back. You know, he never left, as it be. Back with an anime video, at least. It's good to see. And he's talking about Demon Slayer, although towards the end of the video he makes this admission that like the subject he's talking about would be better applied to Better Call Saul. And then he's like, well, I made a calculation that Demon Slayer would be the one to that Algo would like, so I did that instead of Better Call Saul. And right at the end of the video, I'm just like, yeah, damn, you know, I know what you mean. No, but like this was interesting because the format, it doesn't feel like, it feels like he's kind of figuring it out as he's going, almost. You know, it feels like he's kind of exploring and gestating this idea, almost like stream of consciousness. This mostly feels this way in the last third, where it starts to drift away from Demon Slayer, and he's like, wait, this is a video about Demon Slayer. You know, where he's starting to kind of be like talking about the ideas of plot holes and what plot actually is, which I really like, because I was getting so sick reading the encyclopedia, where they were like, it's SAO is heavy. They said something where like SAO is sort of online is heavy on art and effects or battle sequences, but tediously light on plot and character development. And I'm like, SAO? Look, I don't really like the show. I was day one hater. I didn't like it and then gradually soured on it. Though I watched it and was like, this sucks. Watched the whole thing, and SAO 2 for some reason. I don't know why I watched 2. It was being more completionist back then. And of course, right when Alicization is apparently the best one. Okay. But like, to say it's tediously light on plot and character development, it just didn't make sense to me. It feels like you're talking out your ass. It was, you just didn't like the plot. You didn't like but there is a plot. And I think even Gigguk actually talked about this in his video on the Smoker Girl, where it's like, slice of life, there is plot. There is story to it. It's not the most riveting, but it's sort of how you tell it. And we're fascinated by that sort of thing. I don't know. But like, I really like Unique's actual, like, what is plot anyway? Oh my gosh. It's the connections. It's how everything feels cohesive. And like, this is leading to this other thing. And that, it felt like you were discovering and kind of reaffirm, I don't know. It felt like you're just learning more about storytelling and how to do it better. And really looking at it in this kind of over-analysis type of way that you're known for. That's your thing. But it's fun to see it in this sort of like, you don't have it all figured out. I don't know if I don't know if this is generalization, but it feels like your other videos, it really feels like you go into them having figured it out. And you're like, guys, here's the thing. Here's what this is. And you've gotten it. You've got it. The piracy videos, the NFT video, the one I edited for you with Avada Kedavra, it felt like you knew what you wanted to say, and here's the thing, and here's it presented to you. This one, it's interesting because the story is still going, and you do make a commentary on this, and I like that. Again, it feels very off the cuff, and it just feels like a different format, where it feels like you're addressing concerns in real time of like, because what I was having in my head, where you're talking about the effectiveness of the story or whatever, to me, I was always like, yeah, but what if something in the narrative, there's a reason for the thing that you're having a dissonance with, or you're having an issue with, and then you make Sasaga, of course, you bring up you give an example of here's an instance where someone was giving a piece of media that benefit of the doubt, be like, oh, they'll probably explain it by the end, and then the ending happens, and none of that was, none of that thing that they were looking forward to, and so their expectations or their enjoyment just like plummets or something. That's sort of, it was really interesting to see, and of course, that's what I mean. Like, one of your strengths really is like having all these different examples, and like, what about this thing? What about this other instance or this other thing? And like, and repeating. You used the Last Jedi shot of the Star Destroyer a lot, quite a number of times. It felt, I don't know. And then it also felt very captiony, where you have a like little side commentary, and Hazel was doing this a lot. I did this a couple times in my mostly in my hosted a video, but in a couple other places where it's like I don't have the time to fucking re-record that or I don't want to insert it as a dialogue thing in the script. It's just an aside, but I can't not say it. So you have to kind of make little annotations throughout the whole video and stuff. I didn't pause in this particular instance, just because a lot of them felt very technical, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this felt a little more rambly, or kind of discovering it, or just jading the idea as you're making it, almost. And not like a stream of consciousness way. Maybe kind of like a stream of consciousness. I don't know. But it felt different from the other videos in that regard, which frankly I liked, because it's that sort of, it feels like you're seeing the gears turning right in front of you, and then it makes your own gears turn, and just being thought-provoking in this sort of way and thinking closer about this media is just what's really important to me, or just what I think is what I think it matters. This stuff matters. Yeah, so I don't know, I enjoyed it. It's hard for me to connect on certain other levels, just because I haven't had very little experience with Demon Slayer, so a lot of the technical talk and like this could have been better and this was executed well and that sort of thing, the other substance you talk about, goes completely over my head, and I can't necessarily agree or disagree. But again, I just like the storytelling, or just the format of this video feels very almost like laying the tracks down ahead of you as the train goes or something. I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed the vid though. It was good. Though there was no though to that. I don't know why I said though. It's good. Gotta mention Trash Taste's interview with a Japanese anime producer, Yoshihiro Watanabe, who's the producer at Studio Orange for Trigun Stampede and Beastars and everything. And I just want to commend him for coming on to the podcast, and them for I was realizing I was listening to the last part of it right before recording this, but I also listened to it while I was like working out, like when it came out, like the day it came out, I think. But I was realizing that like it's really cool that the vast majority of this interview is fun and a lot of cool, like, fun banter. They were very accommodating, but they're mostly asking questions. All three of them were really curious, and Watanabe is generous with his answers, and but can't go into certain things, and very smart, very savvy, being like, I can't talk about other productions, I can't talk about other studios, but at Orange, and he doesn't make these big sweeping claims about CG or whatever. I did see some people make mention how infuriating it is of how, like, I think it was specific. I think all three of them have the sentiment, but Joey in particular was sort of tiptoeing around this, like, all anime CG bad, like literally just the existence of it. And they're like, how do you do that? How do they get it wrong? Like, no, guys, you just don't like it. And Orange just found a way that you do like it. It is really interesting. And he's able to give whatever answer he could to that without trashing other shows. That was very smart. That was very, very savvy. Yeah, I just think this is a really effective and interesting conversation. Encouraging, maybe not for Land of the Lustrous fans. Rip. Because he kind of makes a comment like, what decides the season 2? Where's the season 2? And he's like, well, we're contracted to make it. We're not going to be like, we want to make this thing. It's sort of like they gotta, it's the production company, the mangaka, whatever, the demand, it's not like up to us. So don't ask us. It was sort of his answer, I think. So it's like, I don't know where season 2 of that show is. Oh, well, that's okay. Or I don't know. But yeah, interesting, very interesting. And again, I think they conducted a good interview here, really mainly asking questions, being generous with answers, and having fun banter too. It's just like a very fun conversation. I do recommend it. And speaking of podcast, I was on 2. I know I'm gonna just end digest here around or close to this part. But I just want to, if you want to hear more of my voice, it's whatever. I mean, for one thing, I stream like 3 hours, like 6 hours a week, like 6 to 7 hours a week. These past couple weeks, over the past couple months, I have the streams. But if you don't into that or whatever, I've had great conversations this past month with first Talking Pirates, Nate, best guy ever, his Talking Pirates One Piece podcast that he does live on Twitch, with his chat and everything. And we just kind of went through the chapter 1083 at the time. Chapter 1085 just came out today, and woo! Man, every chapter is like that though. But yeah, this one was, you know, a rare Oda L. I would say a rare. No, and one of the comments on this VOD made it kind of made the point, you know, obviously one of the most liked was that Nate being so jaded towards One Piece, talking with someone genuinely excited about the series is so hilarious. Yeah, it was just like a really fun dynamic where I knew Nate was a huge One Piece fan, but I never really got into the meat of his particular takes since of having become a One Piece fan, or of having seen so much of it. Not caught up just yet, but I mean, I am in the manga technically, but whatever. It's the whole thing. But you know, the chat was very accommodating, and Nate was very nice, despite them being a very sharp-tongued, to where, you know, like very easy to dunk on Oda and on One Piece. Very different tone, you know. And it's all in good fun. It's just like there is something revelatory about being toxic, I guess. And I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely in that position, not with a particular series, but just in general. I've been there. I've been there where it's just really fun and easy to just like, easy makes it sounds derogatory, so I apologize. It's like taking pot shots at them, and like it's easy to be like mid. You know, it's empowering almost, you know? There is something almost empowering about it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that contrast was really fun going through the chapter, but like it was nearly 3 hours. It was just about 3 hours. And so we had a lot of tangents. We were figuring out things about each other in terms of our where we stand as One Piece fans, of like, you like Jinbei, or like, how do you feel about Law, and things like that, certain tangents and stuff. It was just really wonderful, and obviously Nate's a very enigmatic and energetic and really fun presence to be around. Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have me on, and if we'd have you on Pissed Pirates, that would be great. I don't know if I mumbled that or anything. Okay, yes, that'd be great. And the other one would be on We Watch Anime with Trixie and Bird, talking about Mahou Shoujo Magical Destroyers specifically. They had me watch that. They were catching up, but they have their whole show where they've been and they live stream this on YouTube. So similar kind of live stream podcast type of thing. And that one went for nearly 4 hours. Very similar meandery, because of the material we're talking about isn't the most exciting sometimes. But like, and props to that was at like a 10 p.m. recording. And we went till like, and Nate's was late as well, but that one went till like 2 a.m. and we finished talking about all 7 episodes that were out at the time, and then they still had like several hours to talk about the rest of the seasonals, but I knocked out after that. But we basically just talked about the first 7 episodes here. Crazy enough, Trixie added the creator of this show, who's English speaking, and he retweeted it. So that was crazy. So he has some acknowledgement of that. Was really interesting. Yeah, talking about this show, but also just talking about anime and anime culture in general, right? Just a fun meandering conversation. Bird was I liked how I was happy to see how engaged he was, despite not being the hugest anime fan or anything like that. I think he had a lot of interesting points and added to the conversation in a great way. Despite it being mostly like Trixie and I like kind of power leveling almost. There's certain I love, obviously in real life for me, I cannot talk about this stuff on this level with most people, obviously, you know. But like it is really fun, and I've had conversations in DM conversations with some people recently too, where it just feels like this person knows a lot and has been around and has their takes and stuff, And so the way you talk, it always it feels loaded with like referencing other things and these big ideas, and you're like, what do you think about this sort of thing? And you elaborate with your own type of thing. It feels very what is the ancient Greek, like that big painting with the philosophers with like Aristotle and whatever, and they're just having this big educated talking and this round or whatever. I don't know the picture. You know what I mean. It's like that, it's so check this out if you want that for anime, I guess. I don't know. It just felt very elevated in a cool way, and I don't know. We're just, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really appreciated being a guest on both these podcasts, and hope you'll check them out. That was a good digest, I think. Sorry I recorded this on the 31st at just about 3 p.m. So if you uploaded a video on May 31st at 3 p.m. onwards, sorry, maybe next month. Sorry, maybe next time. But I just had to get this out because that's what I could fit in. I'm grateful that I could fit this in at all. I wasn't sure I would, but I'm very happy I was able to record this. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great month. Yo, peace.